So welcome back. Today we're going to continue the repairs on Mitja's 964 Turbo. In the last episode we disassembled everything far enough to see that the main problems are the camshaft covers and the crankshaft seal. Mitja ordered all the small parts we need to do this job properly, so let's dive in. First, we finished draining the oil. We already drained the engine, so now we need to drain the oil tank as well. Because I'm using a scissor lift and the oil tank outlet sits between the wheels, we have to lower the car onto its wheels to reach it. Then it's a quick job. Loosen the drain plug, let it drain, replace the sealing washer and torque it back to spec. One thing that's very different from my 964 is the position of the oil filter. It sits underneath the engine right above the exhaust manifold. That's a weird spot because you risk pouring oil over it and into the heat exchanger. There are plenty of openings where oil can run in, and if it does, the car will smoke for a while. Ask Mitja how he knows. On top of that, space is tight. We built a small ramp out of cardboard to catch the draining oil and then spun the filter off. After cleaning everything as well as possible, we screw the new filter on. Since you can't get a proper grip on it, we use a filter tool just to snug it up. Next on the list, the crankshaft seal. We lower the engine back onto some boxes so we can remove the engine carrier again. To hold the crankshaft, we use the Porsche tool 9236, which locks into the crank pulley. Unlike on my car, you don't need a puller here, the pulley slides straight off. Behind the pulley, the view looks very similar to my engine. This time, instead of prying out the seal, we screw two small screws into the seal and pull it out using those. A much nicer method than what I did on mine. You live and you learn. To press the new seal in, we use a wrench as a driver. The important part is to push it in square and evenly. On Mitja's car we also choose to replace the intermediate shaft cover underneath the crank seal. This cover is held in place with two bolts. It seals with an O-ring and a thin bead of sealant to keep oil from creeping past. So we renew exactly that. New O-ring, fresh sealant and bolt it back on. When the cover sets, it creates that same satisfying squish seal we found before, so we're confident we are on the right track. Refitting the crank pulley was a bit more fiddly this time, because we also replaced the fan pulley belt, which adds a bit more spring tension. The pulley itself has a locating pin on the back that fits onto a hole in the crankshaft, so it only goes in one position. You can't get it wrong. We torque the bolt to spec and mark its position. With that, the rear side of the engine is done. We thought we could now mount the engine carrier for the last time and torque it down, but we were wrong. We will get to that. Now let's work on the camshaft covers. On the passenger side, we only need to remove one more piece of engine tin to get to the upper cover. Then it's just a matter of removing all the nuts and hoping not to pull any studs. Apart from one pulled stud, it went pretty well. We simply reinstalled that one with a bit of Loctite and move on. On the driver's side it gets trickier. Several lines and hoses are in the way and some of them pass through the engine tin as well, so those have to come off too. While we are removing the upper cover and peeling off the old paper gasket, we lost a tiny bit into the cam housing. Luckily, after a few minutes of searching, we find it sitting in the lower cover. Phew. Next fun job, removing the spark plugs. There's a special tool for that in the original onboard toolkit. A small plug wrench that really helps on cylinder 1 and 6 in particular. We tried without it and failed. I didn't even know this tool existed and Mitja had to remember it. With that tool, removing the plugs is fairly easy, but somehow it still feels wrong. With all the covers off, you probably know what's coming next. The valve adjustment. On the turbo, there's a small complication though. You can turn the engine from above using the front pulley, because the front pulley only drives the AC and isn't connected to the fan belt. So the engine carrier has to come off again and the engine goes back onto boxes once more. With the carrier removed, we put a ratchet on the crankshaft pulley and turn the engine clockwise until the timing marks on the pulley and fan housing line up. The marks on this turbo are laid out a bit differently from my car. There are 3 marks evenly spaced around the pulley and 1 additional small mark around 25 degrees away from one of them. When you line up the mark with that extra mark on the right, you're either at cylinder 1 or cylinder 4. You can check which one you're on by looking at the distributor position. We check the valve clearance with a 0.1mm and 0.15mm feeler gauge. The 0.1mm gauge must slide through and the 1.5mm should not go through. If it does, you loosen the lock nut and adjust the screw. We use the Renline valve adjustment tool again. It uses the thread pitch of the adjuster screw to set the clearance very precisely. You put it on the rocker, close the gap to 0, set the marker and then open the screw by a defined number of degrees. Then you tighten the lock nut while holding the screw in place and check again with the feeler gauge. Now it's Mitja's turn to play the patient game I played 2 months ago. Measure, adjust, measure again, sometimes adjust again. And repeat that through the entire firing order on all cylinders. With that big job out of the way, we can finally refit the cam covers with new gasket. There's one big difference to my car. The turbo still uses the old style paper gasket. That works fine for the upper covers, but for the lower ones it's not ideal. To improve this, we used aftermarket lower gaskets that are reinforced with a molded rubber lip. That lip helps the gasket seal better and stay in place. Once everything is bolted up and torqued to spec, we reinstalled the engine carrier again. We also refit the turbo bracket because it shares the same mounting points. After giving everything a good clean, we move on to the next topic. The next déjà vu repair, the fuel pressure accumulator. Mitja noticed that when the engine is hot, the car sometimes doesn't like to restart. That can be caused by a failing fuel pressure accumulator which can't hold pressure when the engine is off. The problem is that it's hidden all the way in the back on the driver's side engine bay and connected to 2 hot lines. To get it out, we need more room. So we remove a few more hoses, the fuel filter and the air filter box on top of the K-Jetronic unit. Now you can see the big mechanical fuel distributor. Complete witchcraft to me at first glance. Showing the actual accumulator swap is difficult on camera because the space is too tight. But basically, you maneuver the new unit in, tighten the clamp that holds it and reconnect the hard lines at the back. With the fuel filter installed, the topic is done. Now it's hopefully downhill from here. We refit various hoses and air lines and put the air filter housing back on top. After that, we move underneath the car to reinstall the side engine tins on the driver's side and all the attached hoses. Right after that, we need to reinstall the turbo. but before that we inserted the new studs we pulled out during the disassembly. Then we realized we can't bolt the turbo to its bracket while the bracket is already on the car. So, engine back on boxes, remove the bracket again, temporarily bolt the turbo onto it on the bench, and then refit the whole assembly as one piece. After that, we reconnect the oil lines at the back and on top. Turbo done. Now the rear section of the engine tin goes back in and we tighten the bolts that hold it. Next comes the exhaust section right after the manifold. At the front and rear, it's held with new nuts and bolts and new gaskets between the flanges. The side of the turbo is hard to reach with big tools, so most of the time you are working with small wrenches in tight space. The two air lines from the wastegate simply bolt on, and the lambda sensor cable runs through the engine tin and plugs into its connector on the driver's side. Back in the engine bay on the passenger side. Before we can reinstall the AC compressor, we need to bolt the air valve back onto its bracket and refit the duct for the external fan. Then we slide the AC compressor bracket back in and bolt it to the engine carrier. On top of that sits the adjuster bracket for the compressor, which lets you set the belt tension. Then the compressor itself bolts straight on. On the other side, only the big hose from the turbo to the intercooler is missing, which we fit next. To refit the big intercooler, we need to line up the mounting points. There are 3 slide-in tabs that get bolted afterwards, and of course the large throttle body underneath. The intercooler sits so tight that a little WD-40 on the rubber seal helps it slide in. Then you position it and wiggle it down until it sits flush on the throttle body. After that, hold it down and reconnect all the hoses and sensors. Don't forget the connector underneath. And with that, the engine bay is done. The last big piece is the catalytic converter. It bolts to the turbo and it's held with a clamp. Don't forget the line in the back. Then the J-pipe bolts to the cat and to 2 studs in the wheel well. We are not putting the bumper back on yet. Mechanically, we are almost done. Next step, oil. We start with 6 liters, then we want to crank the engine to build oil pressure before the first start. We will use the starter motor, so we need to make sure that there is no fuel injection and no ignition. In the front fuse box there are 2 fuses that we pull for that. And to disable ignition, we also pull the DME relay in the back. It's the small one on the left. With that out, we can crank the engine safely and watch the oil pressure gauge. It builds pressure nicely. Perfect. Then we add another 2 liters of oil and roll the car outside for the first start. We hit the key and it just starts. After a few seconds, we are greeted by a lot of steam and smoke. All the moisture and residue in the exhaust leads to burn off. Don't worry, that's normal and it takes a little while, but eventually it clears. While the engine warms up, we check the oil level again and top it up as needed. With that, we are done. We put the car back on the lift and take a quick look underneath. No drama. So this is it. A quick repair on the 964 Turbo with a few oil leaks, hopefully solved. These 2 little episodes took 4 full days in the shop, some longer, some shorter. But time flies when you're having fun. Now Mitja has the same problem as I do, waiting for better weather. Until then, see you in the next one.